going on, everybody? Welcome in the Vikings Now by Chat Sports. My name is Patrick Siepman, and coming up on today's show, could a major offensive change be coming for our Minnesota Vikings with the addition of Aaron Jones? Maybe they could lean more on the run game. We'll talk about that at the first half of today's show. But then also, Kevin O'Connell hopped on the Rich Eisen show and talked about J.J. McCarthy. So I wanted to give you guys those quotes from his appearance over there. But this was the new report coming in from Charley Walters, longtime beat reporter for the Minnesota Vikings. And he said the Vikings will put more emphasis on the run game this season. Then there was also a part during Vikings minicamp where they had a specific designated time of practice where they specifically worked out of the shotgun runs, which the Vikings actually ran the least amount of shotgun runs last football season. So I thought that was pretty interesting. I think that actually speaks to, having two more athletic quarterbacks in J.J. and Sam Darnold in comparison, to Kirk Cousins. You can have that read option ability. But the Vikings have had an issue running the football over the last 2 years. I mean, ranking 27th in the league in 2022, 29th in the league in 2023, and never eclipsing more than 100 rushing yards per game over the last couple of seasons. And that has been my biggest gripe with the Kevin O'Connell era of the Minnesota Vikings. I feel like they have been too much of a finesse football team. So I think personally it's great news that they're going to put more emphasis on the run game, and they should, because they got Aaron Jones this offseason. And I think this was one of these signings that we're going to look back when it's going to be like, November 22nd, and Aaron Jones rips off like a 150-yard game. We're going to be like, man, that was one of the biggest moves of the NFL offseason, and this dude is still an elite running back. Even though the production overall last season, if you just look at it right there, only going for 656 yards, 142 carries, you're going to say, maybe he had a down year. But some advanced stats on him, he actually led the NFL from Week 16 to the divisional round weekend of rushing yards over expected. Now, rushing yards over expected, it is a next-gen stat from NFL.com. It accumulates, it predicts how many rushing yards a running back is supposed to get on a certain carry. And then if the running back gets more than what is expected, they'll get plus. Then obviously if they get less, they get less. But Aaron Jones from Week 16 to the divisional was plus 151 rushing yards. By far the best in the NFL. Josh Allen plus 97. You got guys like James Conner, Derrick Henry, and Isaiah Pacheco following behind them. But Aaron Jones ended last season absolutely hot. And, he has been the definition of consistency throughout his time in Green Bay. And, he's had some big-time games against our Minnesota Vikings, absolutely tearing it up at U.S. Bank Stadium. But, still, the production is still there for Aaron Jones. Obviously, injuries were a big reason why he didn't eclipse 1,000 yards last season, but still 4.6 yards per carry. And he was still incredibly effective down the stretch, of last season. And this Vikings running back room, I am more than okay running into the season with those two guys right there, Aaron Jones and Ty Chandler, being that 1-2 punch. And then you have Kene Nwangwu being that gadget guy. You can get him on some jet sweeps, touch passes, whatever you may want to do with him. And then also I'm still a fan of guys like Dwayne McBride, who we took in the 7th round of last season. If you guys actually don't know, he averaged, it was like 7.8 yards per carry his senior season at UAB. So he's got some pop there. But, the Vikings' ability to not run the ball last season, I don't necessarily chalk it up to the offensive line. And I feel like, automatically as fans and, common fans, that when we're addressing a run game for the NFL, I think that's one of those things where it's automatically we see a bad run game and we are just automatically going to be like, oh, it is the offensive line's fault. Well, last season they weren't too bad. Darisaw and O'Neal graded out pretty well, and then Reisner had a 50 overall grade, Garrett Bradbury had a 65.5 overall grade, and then Ed Ingram 59.1 run block grade as well. And the lack of run game production, to me, it was on the running backs last season. I don't want to chalk it up to the offensive line. I think this had a lot to do with, Alexander Mattison and, frankly, Ty Chandler just not getting the most, out of the offensive line and the holes they were creating. And actually, some more rushing yards over expected stats for you. Alexander Mattison was actually one of the worst running backs in the NFL in that category at minus 45. And, this stat, and, maybe you guys say I put too much stock into the stat, but I use this all the time on the show. And this was a big reason why, we saw the fall off for Dalvin Cook coming, because the rushing yards over expected just absolutely hit a hill. And he kind of fell off the face of, the NFL universe. So Madison, he wasn't too good in that category. And then also Ty Chandler. I love Ty Chandler. I think he's got great pop. I think he's going to be a great running back too in the league. But even him, he was in the negative at negative 14 rushing yards over expected last season. So I think with the ability that Aaron Jones is going to bring, as he is one of the best, running backs, in my opinion, still in the league with a good run blocking offensive line, I actually do think the Vikings should at least be top 15 in running the football this season. But you guys let me know, will Aaron Jones fix the run game? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no down in the comment section. I'm hopefully going to be typing my Y's down below in the comments, but you guys let me know your thoughts as well. Now, coming up next here on the program, I'm going to be talking about Kevin O'Connell as he went on the Rich Eisen show, and he just chopped it up around J.J. McCarthy. Want to get you guys these quotes here. But, hey, if you want to get a J.J. McCarthy jersey, we got a sweet deal going on right now at chatsports.com/Vikings jersey. Get your number 9 jerseys today, as I cannot wait to be rocking mine during game days here on Sundays here in the new future. So if you guys want to get one as well, chatsports.com/Vikings jersey, get your jersey today. So Kevin O'Connell, he was on the Rich Eisen show, and he just, told all about J.J. McCarthy, and he said it's going to be a competitive training camp, but we do have a plan for J.J., a long-term plan. We see him as our quarterback of the future. Thought that was interesting. He said when that ultimately starts with him taking game reps under center, it will really be about his process to getting there and demonstrating that he's got total comfort in the system. Now, I just want to say this to Vikings fans, we need to be patient because the Kevin O'Connell system with all the nuances and, how complicated it is going to be incredibly challenging for McCarthy to pick that up in year one. We heard Kirk Cousins talk about it during his time with the Minnesota Vikings, saying when he got Kevin O'Connell's playbook, he was up late nights, just trying to fully comprehend it, and he even struggled with it. And that was a guy who was a 10-year vet in the NFL at the time, so I couldn't imagine how challenging this must be for JJ. So, even though he could have the physical attributes and he could have the arm and he could be look on the field ready to go out there and play week one, if he's not comfortable with the playbook, Kevin O'Connell is not going to run him out there until he is fully, obviously comfortable making the right reads on every play. But, more from O'Connell, he said, we want to make sure it's the right time. And JJ feels 100% confident he can go in and not only have success, but then also when the adversity does hit, is he taking it on the right way from a foundation that hopefully we've built up over a good amount of time. And, I've made this point a lot here on the channel is a reason why I would, sit JJ for all of year one is, you don't want to kill his confidence. Let's just say the Vikings do kind of force the issue and they roll him out there, week one, and maybe he has a disaster of a performance. He has 3 interceptions, only goes for 150 yards, and he just doesn't look the part. Then he's probably going back and questioning himself, questioning his ability. I would rather not have that happen. I would rather the Vikings just roll out Sam Darnold for all 17 games and then have JJ next season, week one, when that comes around. He is feeling all types of confidence. He understands the playbook. He added more weight on his frame. He's got more familiarity with the wide receivers. Instead of trying to force the issue just because you want to see what you have, I would rather go the direction of just kind of, hey, trust the process. You're going to develop your own game, and then we'll go from there. But, more on McCarthy's spring. O'Connell said he's had a great spring. He's off to a really good start, transitioning into a new offense. Bunch of new teammates, new players. He gets a ton of work throughout routes on air and even in 7-on-7. So JJ has gotten a good acclimation to what our offense is really all about. He's starting to show some ownership of it and growing every day. It'll be a big week for him this week, getting a few more reps before we set him off into the summer, before arriving back here for a big training camp for our whole team. And guys, I just can't wait for the preseason and even just to have more, OTA news this week. Even though Kevin O'Connell gave the whole week off for all players that have played more than 5 years in the NFL. Still excited to see the clips. Still excited to see the highlights that come out of it. And, overall, I just can't wait for the preseason. Week 1 versus the Las Vegas Raiders. And hopefully it's J.J. McCarthy out there. Don't assume Sam Darnold will play in preseason just because of how we've seen O'Connell handle the starters in past seasons during the preseason. So hopefully we see a lot of J.J. McCarthy. And I just can't wait. And it also gets me to this. I think it is a great time to be a Minnesota Vikings football fan. And, from where we've been over the past couple of years, in my opinion, kind of being stuck in this purgatory zone of, we're not good enough to compete for Super Bowls. We're not bad enough to have a top pick in the draft to go get a franchise guy. Now the Vikings have set themselves up where they have the franchise quarterback. They have a really good roster around him. And, all the moves Kwesi has made this offseason, I just, really want to give credit to him. He set this team up to really have a strong Super Bowl window in about 2 to 3 years from now. But let's show J.J. McCarthy some love to end today's show. Type his jersey number. Type those 9s down in the comment section. Want to see the support for, hopefully, the new franchise quarterback of Minnesota down in the comments. And as always, guys, make sure you subscribe to the channel. See you guys next time. As always, Skol Vikes.